Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are so glad you could join us for this discussion, brought to you by our friends at Very Professional. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest, most persistent myths in all of science. We're going to bust it wide open and figure out, once and for all, where did we really come from?
You've heard it, right? Of course you have. It's literally everywhere, in cartoons, in jokes, maybe even from a teacher back in the day. It's this super simple, catchy idea that's been around for more than a century. But what if I told you that entire idea is just plain wrong? That's right. The idea that we evolved from the monkeys you see at the zoo is one of the biggest misunderstandings of how evolution actually works. Humans did not evolve from monkeys, but our stories are connected, and let me tell you, the real story is so much more incredible than that simple myth.
So here's our game plan. We're going to completely dismantle that myth, piece by piece. We'll start with that flawed picture that probably started it all. Then we'll trace our real family tree. We're even going to meet some of our actual ancient relatives and discover the one single trait that first set us on our own, totally unique path.
All right, first up, let's talk about an image you have absolutely seen before. It's often called the March of Progress, and honestly, it's probably done more to confuse people about evolution than anything else out there. You know the one I'm talking about. It shows a chimp-like creature on the left, then a slightly more upright one, then another, all marching in a single file line until you get to a modern human at the end. It makes it look so neat and tidy, like one species just decided to morph into the next. But evolution is anything but neat and tidy.
In reality, it's so much messier and, frankly, way more interesting. Evolution isn't a ladder we climbed, it's more like a sprawling, out-of-control bush. For millions of years, multiple human-like species, our ancient cousins, were wandering around at the same time, all on different branches of this bush. And you know what? Most of those branches were dead ends. They went extinct. We're just the last little twig left on our branch.
So, if it's not a straight line, what is it? Well, the absolute best way to picture our relationship with other primates is to think of a giant family tree. It really helps to think about cousins, not some kind of direct line of grandparents. And this family tree here shows it perfectly. If you go way back in time, you can see these major splits. See over here, the New World monkeys branched off, then later, the Old World monkeys did. And right here, this is our branch, the hominoids, which includes all the apes and us humans. We all spring from the same ancient rootstock.
Now, this is the most important concept to get your head around, the common ancestor. This is the key that unlocks everything. It's not that we evolved from monkeys. It's that we and monkeys both evolved from a shared ancestor that, and this is important, is now extinct. It's just like how you and your cousin aren't descended from each other. You both just share the same grandparents.
And that split? It happened a long, long time ago. The common ancestor that we share with today's monkeys lived roughly 25 million years ago. After that, their lineage went one way and our lineage went a completely different way. We've been evolving on separate, parallel paths ever since.
Okay, so let's zoom in a bit on our own branch of the tree, the one that includes us and the other great apes. This is where the story starts to feel a lot more recent and a lot more personal.
Just look at this timeline. So 25 million years ago, our lineage splits from the monkeys. Then fast forward to about 10 million years ago, and the gorilla lineage goes its own way. And then much, much more recently, around 7 million years ago, the final big split happened, the one between the ancestors of modern chimpanzees and the ancestors of us humans. And here's a quick did you know for you. That very recent split is why we are so incredibly similar, genetically, to chimpanzees and bonobos. We share about 98.8% of our DNA with them. They are our closest living relatives in the entire animal kingdom. So remember, not our ancestors, but our closest evolutionary cousins.
Now, let's go from the theoretical family tree to the actual physical evidence. I mean, let's look at the bones. The fossil record gives us these amazing snapshots of the relatives who lived on our specific branch after we said goodbye to the chimp lineage.
Scientists have a special name for this exclusive club, hominins. A hominin is any species that's on our side of that final split with chimps. This includes us, Homo sapiens, of course, but also dozens of other extinct species, like the famous Neanderthals, and many, many others you've probably never even heard of.
So let's meet one,
This is one of the earliest known hominins, Sahelanthropus chadensis. This guy lived around 7 million years ago, right around the time of that crucial split. What's so wild about this skull is the position of the foramen magnum. That's just the hole where your spinal cord connects. It's positioned underneath the skull, not at the back. That strongly suggests it held its head upright and very likely walked on 2 feet.
And check out Artie, another one of our famous ancient relatives who lived about 4.4 million years ago. Artie is so cool because her skeleton shows a mix of features. Her pelvis tells us she could walk upright on the ground. But look at those feet. She still had an opposable big toe, just like an ape, which would have been perfect for grabbing branches. She was a hominin who was at home both walking on the ground and climbing in the trees.
And this brings us to the single most important trait that really defines our entire hominin lineage. It's not our big brains. It's not our fancy tools. It was the very first major step we took, literally. And stay with me here. This next point might actually surprise you.
That's not all. Here's where most people go wrong. We all tend to think our big brains and our intelligence are what make us human, but the fossil record is absolutely crystal clear. Bipedalism, just the simple act of walking on 2 legs, came millions of years before our brains started to get significantly bigger. Walking upright was the foundation that set us on our unique evolutionary path.
And becoming a full-time biped wasn't just some minor tweak. It required a radical redesign of our entire skeleton. I mean, just look at the comparison here between a human and a gorilla. The changes are massive, affecting everything from the top of our skull all the way down to the tips of our toes. You see, all these changes had to work together as a package deal. To balance our head on top of our body, our spine developed this cool S-curve to act like a shock absorber. Our pelvis changed from long and narrow to short and bowl-shaped to support our organs. To keep from wobbling side to side, our knees started angling inward to keep our feet under our center of gravity. And finally, our feet lost that grasping big toe and developed an arch, turning them into powerful platforms to push off from with every single step. Okay, let's pull all of these threads together. Let's put our family tree back in its proper shape and leave that old, wrong, straight-line myth in the dust for good.
This quote from the Smithsonian Institution just says it all perfectly. This is the core takeaway. We are not the great-great-great-great-grandchildren of any monkey or ape alive today. We are all cousins, sharing common ancestors who lived at different points in the very, very distant past.
So the next time you see that March of Progress picture, I want you to remember the bush. Remember that there were dozens of other hominin species that walked this earth. Our own species, Homo sapiens, wasn't some inevitable goal of evolution. We are simply the last one standing, the only surviving twig on a branch that was once incredibly lush and diverse.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If our history is this messy, branching bush, full of so much diversity, so many evolutionary experiments, and so many extinctions, what does that really say about us? Well, it tells us that our existence was never a guarantee. It was an improbable, unpredictable, and incredible journey.